Thank you. So here we are then for the F1 Sim Racing World Championship 2026, and we can see Otis Lawrence crossing the line to start on pole around Jeddah, his second ever pole in F1 Sim Racing. You can see what it means to him, which sets it up perfectly for our race as we go round for round 4 around Jeddah, Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And here we are then, a brand new location for F1 Sim Racing. We have come home to the Formula One Media and Technology Centre. And as you can see, the rigs are set up perfectly. And here we are in the studio with my 3 guests, esteemed guests. I'll start with you, Jack, straight away. Jack Crawford, Aston Martin reserve driver. Great to have you on the show. It was pretty special, that quali, seeing the celebrations of Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, it was exciting. I mean, the margins are crazy. I mean, it's nothing like I've ever seen before, you know, and in the real world, if you're 2/10 off, you're pretty safely in the top 5, probably off pole. If you're 2/10 off here, you're probably out of Q1 or Q2. So it's, yeah, tight margins and, yeah, incredible how fast they all are.
Yeah, and knowing when we spoke earlier on the quali show, we talked about your sort of foray into F1. You were practicing on the game. Is there a possibility? Were you tempted to come maybe join?
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not at the level of these guys. And even if I was close, it would take so much time and effort. You know, I think I could probably get within half a second, within a couple days maybe, but then, you know, I think that's the trick, is they find the extra 1 or 2 tenths that they need to be, you know, the best in the world.
And they definitely are. The best of the best are here competing. 18 drivers who are getting ready to go around Jeddah. Enjoying it so far, Kai Bochini, back again, loving the energy that you're bringing, and because we're watching something brilliant.
Well, the energy's coming from the drivers. I wouldn't have such a big smile on my face if I wasn't enjoying it. It's all helped by you as well, Tom.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I mean, the racing's been outstanding. The actual quality of the racing that we get to commentate on is a big privilege. And Jeddah, I think it's posed to have some great action in store.
Yeah, Otis Lawrence, a fellow Welshman. We caught up with him in between quali and the race right now, George, and he's got an aura about him. He's fantastic to watch.
Yeah, and obviously we had a chance to, like you say, sit with him and have a little chat post-quali. You know, this was after we were on air, obviously, but he was very clear in the fact that he wants to win a championship. You know, that's his dream. He wants to be, the owner of that world title. And, with results like he's already managed to rein in, the youngest F1 sim racing driver on record at 16 years of age from Jeddah last season. And now he starts on pole in potential of going back-to-back.
Yeah, you can see the trophies just behind George, which he definitely wants to get both hands on. However, let's bring you up to speed if you just join us. So good to have you with us, because this is event 2. Event 1 was spectacular. I know you caught up with it in Japan when you were there, Jack Crawford, and it was just lights out. It just had a bit of everything. We started in Shanghai, George, and it didn't disappoint.
No, absolutely not. We had plenty of action. Obviously, Otis Lawrence was at the heat of most of it. It has to be said, the collision with Jarno Opmeer, of course, later extending at the hairpin. Jonas Yildirim trying his luck on Freddie Rasmussen, the Red Bull Junior team, eventually unable, though, to get the move done, and Freddie was successful. And the story for Freddie was largely different at Japan, Kai.
Yeah, very different indeed. A 10-second penalty off the go as he jumped the gun off the line. So did Nico Longe. Speaking to Nico after the race, he said, well, I was just reacting to my competitor. As soon as he saw Freddie go, he thought, oh, well, I need to go as well. And that's where they both ended up with that 10-second penalty, trying their best to eke out that gap to recover some points, which Nico Longe did a very good job at. But that also meant that that man right there took home a race victory. Otis Lawrence, deserved winner in Suzuka.
Yeah, could you go back-to-back, obviously, after Saudi Arabia today. Obviously, we see the big smash around turn 8. That was Jonas Yildirim into the back of Alfie Butcher. Of course, John Evans, after the dangerous re-entry, will also fall foul to a DNF. Jarno Opmeer, though, on the rise. A real polarising figure in the form of this race, around the outside as well, coming out of turn 12 and turn 13. A triple overtake. And then later we saw yet more damage sustained between Ismail Fassi and Otis Lawrence. But Jarno taking a phenomenal victory, his first of the season in a bid to defending his title crown.
And what a competitor he is. He's top of the driver standings at the moment with 40 points, just 5 behind Otis Lawrence. And if you add in that pole position point, it's now 4 points separating them. And as you mentioned, Otis really wants that driver's title, as all of our 18 drivers do. But it's so close, Jack, in terms of you looking at those points. There's nothing in this. It's how close. And I can tell you, as you know, because you were watching Event 1, 9 different drivers on the podium. Phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's so competitive, and when you have margins that close, if you have the smallest mistake, then, you're down the order. If you have a good quality, you're up there. So it's, yeah, everyone can play for the win.
We are now looking at Jarno Opmeer, the Flying Dutchman, and with Red Bull currently, as I will tell you, at the top of the constructors' standings. And they're such a magnificent partnering of 2 brilliant drivers that it's going to be very difficult for any team. But I tell you what, Alpine, if anyone can do it, it could be Alpine.
Yeah, it really could. I think that Alpine have one of the most underrated driver lineups on the grid. They've got the old and trusted Dani Berezne alongside a fresh face of the esports scene, but also a fresh set of eyes to find something different. Those 2 drivers will work off each other and work together, learning from each other's driving styles. And that's why we find Otis Lawrence and Dani Berezne putting Alpine Sim Racing second in the constructors right now. 26 points is separating them and that team right there, Red Bull Racing, the most successful driver pairing in F1 Sim Racing, Jarno Opmeer and Fast Freddie.
Yeah, I forget who told me that I should look out for Alpine. I can't remember. Do you remember, Jack, who said at the beginning of the season who should look out for Alpine? It was you, wasn't it, George? Yes.
Yeah. I don't like to blow my own trumpet, Tom, but yeah, no. Honestly, they've really proven to be an astonishing partnership. I mean, they've got a young driver in Otis Lawrence, and then Danny Berejnay, who really provides that experience, that every team needs in order to flourish. And I think with Otis, he's had a real opportunity, I think, to really find the grander intricacies of this championship. Also, just maybe get a few helpful tips, really from Danny.
If I was to give you the 3 races that we're about to race at, you'd be very happy with this, Jack. Let's have a look at where we're going to be racing over the next 2 days. We know Jeddah. If I throw in Barcelona into the mix and a little bit of Silverstone, you'd say, yes, please.
Yeah, some of my favorite tracks, to be honest.
And in terms of looking at your stats from last year, competing in F2, a feature race win in Silverstone. Back in 2024, you had the race win in Barcelona, Catalunya, and then in Jeddah last year on pole, finishing second in the race. You know a thing or two about these tracks.
Yeah, they're amazing tracks, all high-speed tracks, and I love a high-speed corner, to be honest. So,
is it not terrifying? Because obviously with these drivers, the margin of error, which you have mentioned, is just so fine. It's really going to be something as a spectacle to watch.
Yeah, Jeddah's crazy. I mean, you have to be so accurate on your marks, and we saw in qualifying how many guys were just clipping the inside wall and invalidating the lap and going wide, and it just, you just have to be perfect around the walls here.
Absolute flow state. Let's have a look back then at quali Q1. Some surprise exits, in my opinion, with Alfie Butcher. And as you mentioned about invalidating that lap time with Duncan Houghlin, there was a vibe, if you're new to F1 sim racing, which looked like they weren't about to go racing, but they really were, George. What did you make of Q1?
Yeah, obviously, like you so rightly said, I think Duncan Houghlin, he'll be very disappointed with what occurred. We're just going to have a quick look at what essentially ended his session, just getting really onto that turn 1 curve just on the left-hand side and just taking too much of it in order to get a better entry out of turn 2. He just got a little bit too greedy. We saw a little bit of the same as well from Joris Krozen, though he would recover brilliantly in order to secure his place in Q3. And again, a brilliant effort on his part. But Ismail Fassi also a bit of a confusing one, just hitting that barrier on the inside as well. Again, so many drivers fell to the effects of this particular circuit. The walls are just so tight, and therefore you can pay the price.
Q2, the shock for me, Thomas Ronhaar going out. 23 consecutive top 10 qualifying results. On his birthday, doesn't manage it. Maybe it's excitement of your birthday, but at Q3, it went down to the wire, didn't it, Kai?
Yeah, it really did. We were also missing one big name. He doesn't get the nickname Fast Freddy for a reason, and that reason is we always see him up at the front end. Not this time round, it was a Q2 departure, but his second pole position for Otis Lawrence. You already saw how much that meant to him. He said earlier in the weekend when speaking to Nina that he was going to have some big celebrations, and that right there exactly was.
Well, let's look at that lap that got him pole, George. Let's talk through this. And Jack, also getting your thoughts on this very tricky circuit.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really tight, like we said. I mean, just to extract the very best out of a Saudi circuit like this. I mean, Otis just dialing it in. They were really happy with this lap. The slalom in the initial sector is oh so tight. And then you come into this in-swinger where you've got to be a little bit careful because that rear end can step out and you get a little bit of oversteer. I mean, what are you thinking, Jack, when you have corners such as this, the tight slalom?
Yeah, I mean, every single corner here is getting as close to these kind of diamond-shaped walls where you can just literally clip a wheel on the inside wall, and yeah, you just have to be absolutely spot on, and it's worth so much lap time as well. And I mean, so far he's hooked up every single apex perfectly, so yeah, I can definitely tell why it was on pole.
And those camber moments as well, when you come around to the in-swinging left-handers, either side you've got one of those. He's about to come up to the second one now. What's that like?
Yeah, there are just tons of grip on the track here. It's yeah, one of the highest grip circuits, using the camber in turn 13, then last corner of turn 27. It's yeah, it's just a crazy track, and it's a really solid lap.
But enjoyable to race, right?
Oh, so much fun.
Good. I was like, it sounds so nerve-wracking, but like not enjoying any of it, but actually tearing it up. Let's have a look at the classification then, as it stood. And Nico Longe, before this, in our round 1, round 2, round 3 race, had finished P3 every time. He's broken that. He's now P2, and he is really looking forward to this. In the quali, Nina Jed, who you will see later on, spoke to him, tried to get the strategy. He was offering none of that. But what do you reckon could be happening in terms of the strategy for these drivers?
Well, I mean, looking at it, we've seen the medium hard take high precedence over the course of the whole of the events we've seen, or the races we've seen. Across event one, the only difference, of course, being Ruben Pedreño in the third race at Bahrain, but obviously he went for the soft. It doesn't look like we're going to see the soft tyre this time around. A lot of the drivers, I think, are comprehending the idea of going on the medium tyre, maybe for the start. You know, they might choose to alternate. The length of life on it, we're talking around lap 7 to lap 12 being the pit window, I would say, for the medium hard. If they're going to hard medium, then generally around lap 13 to lap 18. So the question is, are you in a position where you want to extend in the opening stint, be fast at the very end? We could see quite a few drivers inside the top 10 make that decision. If you're on the medium tyre, you're looking to be quick at the start. You're going to be looking to gain that immediate track position as soon as the lights go out.
Jarno Opmeer, the reigning champion, Kai, starts in P6. What are we expecting from him? We know his race pace is incredible. And talking about that last time out, it was just a phenomenal drive from him. The 3 wide overtake, or 3 drive, it was
Magic.
just sensational to watch.
One of the most calculated overtakes I've ever seen in my life. We're going to see it right here from his perspective, which will be great. All of the drivers in front of him. Jarno had some brilliant moves first here on Ronhaar, quite similar to the move that he made later on in the race, getting that switchback. But Opmeer, the one thing that he's so great at is reading the cars around him, positioning that Red Bull in the exact position that it needs to be to get the move done, leaving no margin for the other driver, leaving no room for the other driver to even think about getting a switchback or battling this position. In this moment, we thought Longuet was going to challenge for the lead. Boy, were we wrong. All of these drivers squabbling left and right. But if you look to your right, there is Jarno Opmeer sweeping around the outside, collecting all the positions and saying, thank you very much. I will take my race lead.
Well, look, I mean, and you can see what it meant to Jarno as well. I mean, when we were at DreamHack in Birmingham, and we're still trying to work out who he was pointing at, no one knows, but he was fired up. And the last thing you want is a fired up reigning champion coming after you, and that's exactly what's going to be happening. The likes of Jülich, Julian Klaffenbach, surprised with him. Fair play to him, because this is his debut season, starting in P4.
I'm delighted for him, Tom. Honestly, I think what a magnificent moment. Youngest driver on the grid. It's a lot to come into an environment like this in such an enclosed space with some of the best drivers in the world. You sort of wonder, you get a little bit of perhaps imposter syndrome. Do I have the right to be here? Julian's now proven that he can hang with the best. I've seen him at his best as well in league racing in the past. He just needed to unlock that same potential in a situation where a grand championship is demanded, and he is now starting to show it. What a qualifying session for him, and a huge boost of his confidence, no less, and Mercedes need that.
Yeah, Jack, I know we've met and I've interviewed you several times. You've never seen me this blunt, but guys, listen, you need to leave because you need to hot foot it into the commentary booth. So we're going to get rid of George Morgan and Kai Bicchini, because, Jack, I want to talk to you a little bit more about Jeddah. And when you look at this circuit, 6.174 kilometres, 27 turns, the interesting thing to know is, when is Nico Longuet going to send it to try and get that P1 position? If you were thinking of the strategy, when is he going to send it on Otis?
I don't know if you do until the very end, you know. I think, you know, we have obviously the 3 DRS zones here in a row. So will be, I think, super easy to overtake, you know, if you're within DRS. And, you know, I think you kind of wait it out and see how it plays out. And you want the DRS, I think, on the last lap.
With the tyre strategy, so you're suggesting maybe like just to watch and see what's happening around you, which that's a battle of nerves, isn't it? And patience. Because if you're on the medium to hard strategy, lap 7 to 12, as George mentioned, and then hard to medium tyre strategy, maybe lap 13 to 18. So you're suggesting just stick it out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's 2 ways you could go. I mean, you could go for an undercut and try to hold position when the chaos takes place. Or you could do the opposite and want to have new tires when the chaos takes place in the last 5 laps and everyone's trying to go for the win.
We're looking at sort of live shots now of Otis Lawrence starting in pole position on the front row, ready to maybe get his 4th win in F1 sim racing, and Nico also joining him on the front row, starting in P2. These are the moments just before you go racing. I've got a driver with me. I've got to ask these questions. What's going through their head? How do you prepare? How do you get ready for what you know you're capable of doing and actually doing it?
Yeah, these are the best moments. You know, everything that you prepare for, and you know, all the drivers will be super prepared. I think there won't be many nerves that they won't be prepared. I think that's where a lot of nerves come from. I don't think any of these guys, they've done hours and hours and hours, countless hours on, I'm sure, just this track. So yeah, they're ready, and the time before the race is the one that always gets me, because it just feels like forever when you're sitting there waiting for the start of the race, and it just feels like forever. You don't know what to do.
Yeah, and we're seeing that with Ismail Fassi and the Ferrari team, and Freddie Rasmussen, the ice-cold Dane there, who knows what he has to do. It's interesting with the pit wall. If you didn't catch quali earlier on, for the first time ever in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship, they can now see other teams opposite them, but also the pit wall's right behind you. The race engineers are going to be there. They're your teammate in many respects, keeping an eye on what's going on and helping you through. That's going to be vital, especially when you tyre strategy, or maybe someone who's going for the undercut on you. They need to be there to get you through.
Yeah, the engineers have, a lot of work. Not only do they help with, of course, setup of the car.
I've got to stop you there. That looks like a foot massage going on for Otis. There you go. I'm not suggesting there's some sort of injury, but that's how we're in the zone. He's comfortable. He's relaxed. He knows the camera's there, but just a foot on the accelerator or brake and get it ready. But you were saying about the engineers, they do, that is your team.
Yeah, they have a lot of work. I think they want drivers to focus on driving, and let the engineers worry about the strategy, worry about where other people are, try and figure out what people's ARS is at, so they can know if they're high or low, things like this. And I think the main focus for the engineers is to leave a lot of stress off the drivers, so they can just focus on driving.
Duncan Houghlin, Ruben Pedreño there. It looked like they were dancing at one point there from Ruben. He always seems to have a smile on his face. When you have a moment where they know they're starting in P10 and back down in P16, you saw them when we caught a break between quali and a race. How are they feeling going into this one? Without giving away too much, but are they settled? They know what they need to do?
Yeah. I walked in and they asked me what strategy to do. I just said, guys, just do the fastest one that wins you the race.
It's as simple as that.
It's fairly simple.
With Jack Crawford, just go with the fastest one. Here we go then. Let me pass over to George Morgan and Kai Bicini to take you through this race around Saudi Arabia.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. Let's take you through the grid from back to front. Duncan Houghlin, after not fielding a lap time, he'll start at the back alongside John Evans, chasing his first ever F1 Sim Racing World Championship points. Going to be hard to do from back there. We can move on to P16 as well. It's a double act for McLaren. The Papaya team lining up with Alfie Butcher alongside Jake Benham. P3 in this race, of course, before. We move on upwards as well to P14 on the grid. It is Istvan Pukki alongside Tamas Gallen, all Hungarian lineup. Pukki, of course, with Mercedes and Ferrari in the past, looking to do the business for Williams. Further up on the 6th row, Thomas Ronhaar, disappointed not to get through to Q3, but knows that he can do the business. Freddie Rasmussen, though, unceremoniously debunked out of qualifying at the end of Q2 as well. We move inside the top 10. Ruben Pedreño, after coming third in a stellar effort last time out, he lines up alongside Ismail Fassi as the two Spaniards look to go head-to-head. We then move up into 8th place, and it is, at this stage, on that 4th row, Tom Manley alongside Joris Krozen on the 4th row of the grid. Up into 6th place, it's Jarno Opmeer. The Flying Dutchman lines up alongside Ulas Yildirim, looking to fight back after the disappointment at Bahrain. From the 3rd row, we move to the 2nd, and it's 4th for Julian Klaffenbach, a career best so far alongside Danny Berejnay. And the front row, P2 kicking things off on that front row. Nico Longuet will start alongside Otis Lawrence, the Alpine driver, looking to go back-to-back with race wins here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. So there we have it. There's your grid, folks. We now move to the on-track action and await as the lights all go red. All 5 lights are lit here at Jeddah, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Brilliant start by Otis Lawrence, but Nico Longuet also looking strong too. Look at this from Danny Berejnay as they come through out of turn 1 and turn 2 this time around, nose to tail, as they come through the first sector. Lawrence, a very good start, very strong indeed, as they now peel through this first sector. Longuet holds second, Berejnay strong. Klaffenbach, despite his well, being 16 years of age, looks confident as ever coming off the second row.
Yeah, the most perfect launch there from Klaffenbach as well for Otis Lawrence, able to break that gap and get that separation from Nico Longuet off the line. Now Longuet has the hard task. He's got a target in front of him and he needs to catch that target as soon as possible. Here in Jeddah, track position is so important, and that will then come into strategy later on in the race. All of the drivers either on the medium or hard compounder tyres, so long stints to start the race, but what can Longuet do?
And going back to your tyre comments there as well, Kai, Jarno Opmeer, the highest driver in this classification on the hard compounded tyre, P6 at the moment. Jonas Zildrim ahead of him on mediums, as are the rest of that top 5 unit. Otis Lawrence, though, looking to carry onwards and use the pace that he has possessed in that Alpine. Obviously, since qualifying, what a sensational pole lap it was too, and no question, looking for more in his career. He's managed to do well. Look at this, though. Crozen losing out on a potential move against Jarno Opmeer. Manages to, well, at least move onwards now in P7, but Jarno now into P6, holding his own, at least for now. But bear in mind, Jarno is going to be slow on those hard tyres in the initial.
Yeah, it will take a couple laps for those hard compounded tyres to come into the road and start to heat up, and that's when we'll start to see the performance being placed down onto the circuit by Jarno Opmeer. Those hard tyres almost running in tandem with the track development as well. However, different story out in front for Otis Lawrence and Nico Longuet. Longuet catching up with Nina after the qualifying session, said he wasn't expecting to be starting so high at all. He was expecting to be further down the grid. Struggled in Q1, struggled in Q2, but pulled it out the bag when he needed to most. Got himself onto the front row of the grid. We saw a little bit of frustration after his lap. That was purely just driver's instinct. When you're that close to pole position, of course you're going to be frustrated. Second chance glancing over it, he's very happy with that performance. He said it was damage limitation. I think this could be a great haul of points for him.
But he said he was trying to be cautious. I mean, 400ths of a second separating him from the top. I mean, that is absolutely astonishing. Joris Crozen not leaving the back of Jarno Opmeer for 1 minute, knows he has to capitalise on these medium tyres, because Jarno will have, we believe, the medium set for the second half of the race. So Crozen just hovering all over the back. A little look at the inside, very much like we saw a lap or so ago, but no move quite yet. Generally, we see the major action happen towards the end of the race, but obviously those that are on the medium tyres now, they know they have to capitalise and strike while the iron's hot. Fastest lap of the race, currently in the palm of Nico Longuet, a 1:31.110, still remains in second place. The DRS train continues right through the field from P1 all the way down to P18. There's at least one move done by Duncan Hofland. He managed to beat John Evans to the punch at the start of the race as well.
Yeah, so Hofland gaining a couple of positions here and there. Freddie Rasmussen not doing such a great job of gaining positions, actually losing positions, which you wouldn't expect there from the veteran down in P12. Freddie Rasmussen not in the area of the field that we would normally see him positioned in. As we've mentioned time and time again, over 1,000 points scored over the course of his F1 sim racing career. At the moment, not looking to increase that at all.
No, not at all. Still a long way to go. Plenty of action to be had. The driver's just settling down into a rhythm at the moment. The Jeddah Corniche circuit, 27 turns in total. And remember, 3 DRS zones to consider as well. The main one being down the long straight out of the final corner at turn 27 in towards turn 1. And then the alternative, making your way through the outset of the slalom, coming in towards sector 3, where you come out of turn 19 and head in towards turn 22. And then not too long after that, in fact, 2 corners away, you've got one final one that takes you to turn 27 before you head down the long straight again. It is still Otis Lawrence within half a second. Danny Berejnay making it an Alpine double act inside the podium places. They'll be hoping that that will remain the same and the status quo will remain when they reach the checkered flag.
Yeah, 25 laps of focus around this circuit is not going to be easy at all, as you just mentioned there, George. Turns 3 to 12 is a relentless high-speed direction change slalom that the drivers have to deal with, and I think Jack summed it up perfectly in the studio earlier. You need to be pinpoint accurate at every single stage in this race. You can't have a lapse in judgment, you can't have a lapse in focus, or that's when you'll see yourself clipping the wall, going off the circuit, getting an invalidation, picking up a warning, picking up track limits penalties, and that's exactly what we saw in qualifying. Drivers just pushing the limits a little bit too much, and it's so easy to do when you're trying to catch the car in front of you to push over that limit. Drivers need to find it soon.
Absolutely brilliant to have Jack Crawford with us, of course, here on the show, here through the course of the day, hearing his expertise, and especially after his incredible run in F2, which very nearly landed him that title that he was chasing. Obviously, he has really been a focal point inside Aston Martin where it comes to making further developments. Let's take a look at the race start again, and here's the launch off the line here for the Ferrari of John Evans. Obviously, he was looking to try and break ahead of Duncan Hoffland right at the get-go just to cement himself, and in fact, we just see the concertina effect really on show. Hoffland managing to jump up in the initial, in fact, he has taken that place anyway and held it. So, I mean, elsewhere in front, big issues for the McLarens.
Yeah, they really struggled in qualifying, and we're about to see what happens here with the McLaren. Just clipping the rear end of Thomas Gal. Gal reacting on the brakes to Rasmussen, and unfortunately for Jake Benham, not able to react in time to stop himself from picking up any damage. So Benham and Evans, an unfortunate start to the race, and that pretty much puts them out of contention already.
Yeah, of course, going back to last year, we mentioned Jake Benham's third place here in this race 12 months ago. It's not going to be the case this time, so it seems. 6/10 off the back of his own teammate at the moment. McLaren currently languishing in P15 and 16 behind Tamas Gal. Whilst Freddie Rasmussen also trying to battle it out against Thomas Ronhaar. No love lost there between those two, Kai.
No, not at all. Thomas Ronhaar clearly trying to peer down the rear end of Ruben Pedreño, but Freddie Rasmussen also hot on the tail of the Mercedes driver as we curve our way through the banking corners, through turns 3 to 12, through this slalom section. It's all about picking out your braking points and being so accurate. Thomas Ronhaar almost looking too relaxed in the seat right there, but you can't be on edge because then you'll start to make mistakes. Jeddah is a circuit where you are awarded for precision over aggression, and that's exactly what the drivers need to keep in mind when making their way around this circuit.
Absolutely a must. You just need to hold your own. Don't jump the gun too much. There is far too much at stake, and especially if you're Thomas Ronhaar, he knows that just one moment further up, whether it be anybody across the top 10, obviously bar his teammate, Mercedes will be hoping that they can grasp double points, and that will become oh so useful in their quest for a better spot in the championship. Otis Lawrence with a 1:30.643 and takes the fastest lap of the race. Still remains just over 0.625 ahead of Nico Longe. That comes back down as soon as they hit the braking zone, coming into turn 1, lap 6 of 25. Remember the pit stop strategies we were discussing, those on the medium tyre. We're looking around between lap 7 and 13. You might get some that extend. Some might consider lap 7 being a bit too soon.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple drivers dive into the pit lane at the earliest point in the pit window. I mean, during our little break in between qualifying and race, I say our break, we're such nerds. We have no downtime. We were still talking about the racing. We were actually speaking to the drivers and the teams and saying that the undercut will be very strong around here at Jeddah because track position is so important. As you see right now, all the drivers just locked into a DRS train. Nobody really able to do anything. Overtaking is not so easy around Saudi Arabia, so maybe boxing early, getting some fresh air and being able to push the car a little bit more without having cars around you could be beneficial in the long run.
Could be the answer. You're absolutely right, Kai Bacchini. It's for the Mercedes squadron. As we mentioned, the history of results that Thomas Ronhaar has pulled together. 6 wins in total. Podiums have been stacked at 19 with 12 pole positions. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to be anywhere near to get another pole anytime soon unless the form shifts. We're riding on board here with Ulash Oldjildirim. Julian Klaffenbach, speaking of Mercedes, just sat in front after that blistering qualifying session. You see the rear end flashing at the moment, suggesting that he's trying to save a little bit of battery right now in order to perhaps tee up a potential run on Danny Berejnay later on as well. Of course, trying to break the status quo of Alpine, sitting with 2 cars inside the top 3. A double podium would be massive, and especially when you consider currently Red Bull have 1 driver outside of that top 10. It leaves only Jarno Opmeer scoring if results stay as they are right now. I'm not saying for one moment they will, because that's not impossible, especially when we come to F1 sim racing races here, Kai, but you know, this could be a massive moment in the championship for Alpine to close that gap.
Yeah, this could be crucial for the team standings as well as the driver standings. Red Bull currently leading Alpine by 26 points, but at the moment with Otis Lawrence also having that pole position point and the fastest lap of the race right now, that's a whole 27 points going the way of Otis Lawrence, an extra 15 being added in there by Danny Berejnay, so that's a 42-point total that at the moment Alpine are looking to take away. In the hands of Jarno Opmeer, though, there's only 8.
Well, how loud do you think his shout will be if he was able to pull that off?
I think we would be able to hear it from the commentary box here.
Most probably, and it is very soundproofed in here as well, so that would be an achievement. But anyway, we're going to see Ulas Yildirim chasing down Julian Klaffenbach, still trying to close the gap, but obviously remember the top 5 all on those medium tyres. Now the major question, does anyone come in for an early stop? Certainly not our race leader. One certainly will. It's Ulas Yildirim. A bold change in direction in our top 10.
I don't blame him at all. I think that's a really good choice there. He was getting stuck on the rear end of Julian Klaffenbach. You could see that Yildirim felt that he had the extra pace to make his way past a Mercedes driver, but just couldn't find the position to make the overtake happen. So the undercut could very much work out in the favour here of Yildirim. He'll come out of the pit lane and have clear, fresh air in front of him to push the car as much as he wants.
Well, bold strategy calls did help one Ruben Pedreño last time at Bahrain. Obviously, we're talking tyre compounds in that case, because of course he started on that soft tyre, which proved to be quite critical in terms of how the race panned out. And indeed, it was profitable for Aston Martin, managing to clinch together their first podium of the season. For Pedreño, it was massive. Obviously, I'd imagine Jack Crawford enjoyed that one as well. Lap 8 of 25. Otis Lawrence within half a second outside of the scope of Nico Longuet. Right now, we're looking to keep this up, at least in this first stint. Like we said, generally the second half, when strategy has been put to bed, the battling then ensues. Purple, though, it looks like on the track map there for Nico Longuet. He's looking rapid, Kai.
Well, he said he was going preservative into this race, but strategy can very much be thrown out of the window when you're in the moment, as Longuet is looking to be a bit stronger in terms of pace than Otis Lawrence, as he's peering down the rear wing of that Alpine car. Just misses the apex out of the final bend, but with DRS enabled, both of them dive down into the pit lane. I'm surprised neither of them went for the opposite strategy, and I'm surprised that we didn't see Nico Longuet go for the opposite and stay out on the circuit, take advantage of the fresh air in front of him. However, Nico Longuet becoming the sheep and following the shepherd into the pit lane.
Well, let's see how much of a benefit Ulas Yildirim's early stop is. Of course, now we see them come together once more. It looks like Otis has held his own through the pit stop, so no threats for Nico Longuet jumping him, as we now see Ulas Yildirim. Now Ulas has taken the net lead of the race.
I said, George, that undercut is going to be strong, and this proves it right here. From 5th on track to into the lead, that just shows how strong the undercut is. Now the question is, can Ulas control his pace, maintain his tyres, maintain his fuel, and make sure that that car is still ready in racing condition come the end of this race? Because with a lap older tyres, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that is a big difference when it comes to the end of a 16 or 17 lap stint.
You're absolutely right. It doesn't sound like a lot, but in the end, it isn't that much if you compare it.
No.
Only a lap over, obviously. At the end of the day, if you consider Otis Lawrence and Nico Longuet, they were your front row come the end of qualifying. So the fact that you're in front of them and you've got only a lap older tyres, Ulas may well have actually cooked up something special here. We'll wait and see whether that is the case. I'm really intrigued to see how they utilise Tom Manley now as well, because obviously, remember, RB, much like Alpine, two of the few teams that actually qualified both cars inside the top 10 is now Danny Berejnay now pits the second Alpine in this race, and yet more cars still continuing. They're not jumping at the sight of those 4 boxing right now. They are continuing on those medium tyres in this first stint.
Tom Manley's hard compound tyres have now came into fruition as a move down the inside. Otis Lawrence making light work of Ulas Yildirim. Yildirim not even putting up a fight there down into turn 1, clearly feeling that it's not going to be beneficial to have that scrap out on the circuit. Maybe just saving some tyre degradation, saving some tyre life, and taking that fight towards the back end of that race. But before that overtake happened, as I was saying, the hard compounder tyres, the drivers of Jarno Opmeer, Tom Manley, etc., are now coming into their own. Fastest lap last time round from Manley.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was on the hard tyre as well, crucially enough. So we're moving more into the hard tyre zone. Just goes to show how quickly they burn up around the Saudi Arabian circuit. It certainly doesn't take a lot. You push a lot of load onto that compound as well. When you reach either end of the circuit, you come in so high speed, as we now ride on board with Nico Longuet.
This is a really big moment for Nico Longe, and this could decide his race right here. Now, the net race leader of Otis Lawrence has already made work of the RB, and behind Nico Longe needs to find his way past Oz Yildirim as fast as possible if he wants to stay in contention of this race victory, because in hindsight, he's just getting held up here by Oz Yildirim, so he needs to depart of the car in front of him to stay in contention with Otis Lawrence. I was saying about Oz Yildirim holding him up, but Oz Yildirim looking for the move. Here comes Longe on the inside. He'll pick his point into 27. Can he get the throttle planted on the exit? No, he can't. Better grip, better traction there. Allows Oz Yildirim to hold on to the second position, but this will just allow Otis Lawrence to break away out in front. Outside there for Longe, inside and defensive Oz Yildirim. He'll hold on for now.
He does not want to move a muscle, does Ulas Oz Yildirim. He's quite happy to stay behind Otis Lawrence, get the DRS, at the same time prevent Nico Longe from making a crucial move. This is almost scientific from the Turkish driver. He is the professor at this moment in time, just trying to manipulate the race into, well, a situation that's better for him in terms of just maintaining that tyre life. They're a lap older, remember, than those two that he's got either side of him in the classification. So this is interesting from Ulas Oz Yildirim. Tom Manley still out on circuit. He's 2/10 away from Joris Krozen. He's going to look on the outside, but the DRS opened anyway, and through goes Manley into second on track.
Good move there from Manley, picked his point and got the move done in a timely fashion, not losing any time to his competitors in front. Now, George, wouldn't this just be an absolute fairy tale if Otis Lawrence was able to win the exact same race that he won 12 months ago? That was his last race victory and also his first race victory. He'll be looking in his mirrors right now and laughing at these two battling.
We love fairy tales. I've got to tell you, it's all about great storytelling, and certainly if you're Otis Lawrence to come back, where you won your first ever F1 Sim Racing World Championship race 12 months ago, and become the youngest ever winner of an F1 Sim Racing World Championship race at the tender age of 16, to then come 12 months later in a quest to winning your first world title, this is certainly massive. Joris Krozen has come into the pits as well, so that's the Haas now jumping into the box. In terms of Tamas Gell at the moment, he is yet to box, and he's now inside the top 10, so you never know. Haas could also come up with something. Those that are on the hard tyres, of course, will very soon be jumping onto the mediums. Ismael Fassi and Ruben Pedreño, of course, still yet to stop. They're on mediums that have lasted since the beginning of this race. We have not seen a hard tyre jump yet. That will, of course, we believe, come into play at the start of lap 13 and through towards lap 18 as Otis Lawrence jumps John Evans, and that's a move into 12th, and that's crucial because Evans has not yet pitted. He's essentially, I would suggest, not necessarily a back marker right now, but in terms of outright pace, that's a huge move for Otis Lawrence, because now John is going to be a thorn in the side of Ulas. And remember, it was Ulas's re-entry that took John Evans out last time at Bahrain.
Maybe there's a little bit of bad blood bubbling over here. We'll have to wait and see for the moment that Oz Yildirim catches onto the back of John Evans. But essentially what Otis Lawrence is able to do here is place roadblocks in between him and his competitors. Now, every car in between Otis Lawrence and Ulas Oz Yildirim is at least 2 or 3 attempts. Let's have a look at this move from John Manley once again. Picked the outside and placed that car in a perfect position. Nothing that could have been done there from Joris Krozen. That move was pretty straightforward.
Spectacular move, and yeah, it certainly got it done just the way he liked with the use of DRS. We then have Otis Lawrence. This is the move on John Evans. We mentioned this just now. Obviously, this putting basically, oh my goodness, a little bit of contact there on the run out of the, should we say, the progressive left-hander. He was looking on the wide outside, just looked like that rear end had made contact with the front right on John Evans's car.
Well, it was a brave move to even go for the outside of the camber corner, but you can then use the camber to your favor to carry more rolling speed through the corner, which is exactly what Lawrence was able to do. Gets a little bit extra traction, carries more minimum speed, and is able to plant his foot earlier, gets the drive out the corner, and gets the move done. Thomas Runhaar in a tricky position right now, as he's got pressure in behind from Istvan Pukki and Tamas Gell. Nothing separating the two of them, but Ruben Pedreño and Ismail Fassi causing a farce here for Thomas Runhaar.
Interesting as well, Kai. Fredrik Rasmussen, an early pit stop to jump off the hard tyres and onto the mediums. So that's a big call. Obviously, we've only just jumped onto lap 13. I was expecting the pit stops to go from hard to medium to happen on this lap between now and lap 18. We might see quite a few dive in now as we watch as the Ferrari looks to back up Ruben Pedreño. This is Ismail Fassi also being joined by Thomas Ronhaar as well as Istvan Pukki. Does anyone else come in? Yes, they do. They respond straight away. So now we see Fassi in, Pedreño in as well, and the rest of them continue on their road down through towards turn 1. Thomas Ronhaar leading their contingent. So here is the moment once again. So this is John Evans, Otis around the outside here. Or indeed, Ulas Yildirim, I do apologise.
Yeah, great move there. Oh, and there was the contact. You can't really blame it on John Evans at all.
No.
From John Evans' perspective, and I'm sure we'll see it again here from Longuet's perspective, Ulas Yildirim just notably turns into the corner and swipes across the front of Evans.
Goodness me. I mean, I'm not sure about that really. Either or on that one. It looked like John had kind of left the nose in there, whether he was just a little bit trepidatious on the brakes. Either way, it could have been Ulas going quite aggressive around the outside. Maybe a combination of the two. I'm not quite sure. But that gap very quickly shrunk as we now ride on board with Istvan Pukki. Just getting a large amount of his car onto the curb there. You've got to be so careful because they are significantly raised, and if you unbalance the car, you can very easily find yourself pitched around as we now await the rest of the drivers to come into the pits. At the moment, the top 7 are the only ones that haven't yet boxed. As I say that, though, John Evans, who's currently routed down in P16 at the moment, is also not yet pitted. It's been another very difficult visit for the Brit.
Yeah, it really has, and it's such a shame to see that he's so far down the order, but I'm sure, once again, just finding his foot in, trying to find where his position lies in this championship. Istvan Pukki makes light work of Thomas Ronhaar with the DRS and battery available down the home straight, picks his braking point for turn 1, will use all the track available, but Ulas Yildirim not waiting around at all, followed through by Longuet. Longuet virtually pushing the RB past the McLaren of Jake Benham. Those two make their way past down the straight for 8 and 9.
Absolutely. The battles are beginning to unfold. Nico Longuet hot on the heels now of Ulas. Obviously, Otis further up, currently on track P7. Effectively, though, your net race leader, Nico Longuet, net P3. And, of course, this is a driver who is chasing equally his first ever World Drivers' title. Many have suggested in the past that he has the pedigree to do it. Many thought, of course, he would do it at Ferrari. Danny Berejnay has also moved past Jake Benham. Now, Benham, I think, has got a problem here because he's just fallen off against Julian Klaffenbach as well. So 2 places lost for Benham. Now, that's very tricky. And bear in mind, he's yet to pit as well.
Yeah, Nico Longuet, the Frenchman racing under the Italian flag, looking to have the best season possible, and I think it's fair to say, George, looking in some of the best form we've ever seen in his F1 sim racing career. Joris Krozen gets the move done on Jake Benham. Great job there to fit 2 cars through one, both looking for the same bit of track, but managed to get it done with no issues.
Well,
and I will keep you updated
let's take a look at this.
You will have better tire, okay?
We're just getting a little bit of team radio there by the sounds of it there, but let's take a look at this. Ismail Fassi at the inside of John Evans, and obviously Ruben Pedreño, who did not want to be left behind, around the outside coming out of turn 2, just wrestled his way through as we now await the rest of the drivers. Now Otmir has finally come into the pits. He's gone really long on this strategy. This is something we've seen him do before. So Thomas Ronhaar now on track in front. The top 4 now are the only ones essentially in this race that haven't pitted. Obviously Jake Benham, John Evans rooted to the bottom. They've also not yet pitted, but in fact John Evans retiring from the race as now Jarno Otmir looks to rejoin once again, and he is on fresh medium tyres. He's going to be quick.
Yep, retiring from the race. No further goes John Evans. He'll have to spectate along. Under investigation is Ulas Yildirim for that incident with John Evans. And I have to second you on that one, George. Maybe getting a bit too enthusiastic, thinking that line was his, but you can't be cutting across your competitor like that.
The thing is, you've got to be careful as well with the incident points. I mean, Ulas was banned before, obviously disqualified, essentially out of a whole season. 5 instant points he has at the moment. If you get 12, then you get a ban. So that's what you can't afford when you're chasing a championship. And certainly I don't think Ulas's run is going to carry on much longer, especially after what we saw at Bahrain. And that will deeply affect his quest for the title.
So.
But we'll wait and see what happens now. Joris Krozen, who we're currently riding on board with, making his way down through towards the heavy braking zone at the end of the long, I call it a straight, is of some sorts. They've got a proper straight now, though, with DRS soon to be open. Duncan Hoffland currently leading on track, but of course is still yet to pit. We've got live feed, though, from the pits, because Alfie Butcher has stepped in and will be changing onto a fresh set of tyres at the same time. So now Hoffland, we believe the only driver left that is yet to box, and yes, that is the case. Otis Lawrence now sits 6.5 seconds behind him. This race is going to kick off now, and it's getting really tight between this bunch, as well as we see the Hasses make their way through. Joris Krozen trying to hold back Tom Manley. Jarno Opmeer is hot on the heels as well, running on board here with Manley. Obviously, Ulash currently being investigated over the move earlier on, and that was against John Evans. Manley, I'm sure, will have no qualms about making some serious moves because he's on faster tyres. He's on fresher, medium tyres against Krozen's hard tyres. It's a string of hards all the way down to P7. Of course, Hoffler will be moving on to mediums later on as through goes Manley, and that was smooth as you like on the fresher medium compound of tyre, a faster tyre just when you need it the most.
That right there is exactly what a fresh compounder tyre can do.
Jarno
Opmeer is going to take advantage as well of a fresh medium tyre. Extra grip, extra traction means you can get your foot on that accelerator, planted out of the corner a little bit earlier, and that makes a big difference around a track like Jeddah through here. If you can get on the accelerator earlier out of the braking zones, you carry so much more momentum for the rest of the straight.
You certainly do. The heat is now beginning to rise here at Jeddah, as if it could raise any more. Contact again, this time between Tom Manley and Julian Klaffenbach, and Jarno Opmeer is going to take that entry as well, and being allowed the gap to try and surpass past Julian Klaffenbach, and the Flying Dutchman flies on through and follows on with Tom Manley. Junior team and senior team aligned together. 5th and 6th. Manley's next stop, Danny Berejnay.
Well, I'm sat here shaking my head in disbelief that we could be seeing a repeat of Bahrain here with a fresh set of tyres on the car of Jarno Opmeer. Not the front medium runner, but Tom Manley in front of him leading the charge through the drivers with the hard compounded tyres on, but everyone within DRS of each other. Could we see a repeat of Sakhir?
You never know. It's looking like it could pan out that way. I think Jarno Opmeer is on the attack again, and in fact having another look this time on Tom Manley. In fact, Manley, I think, was having a look on Danny Berejnay as well, and indeed, look at the run that Manley's getting. Just trying to power past the Alpine at the moment as they come through the S section. No move quite yet, but the next straight is where the opportunity may present itself, and bear in mind, Manley will have no qualms of making this because he should still have DRS off Nico Longuet, and he needs to almost do it because Jarno is all over his tail. They come out of the slalom now through the next S-bend. Obviously they got DRS now, taking them down through towards the final corner, so do expect the move to be made here and now. Berejnay trying to hold on to his own 4th place here. Manley hovering all over him as well. Otis Lawrence still holds the lead, no change at the moment, but we see Freddie Rasmussen moving on Joris Krozen wheel to wheel. A slight tap of the wall there for Joris Krozen, but somehow stays on within the track. Opmeer on the move again. He tries to take on Tom Manley. He takes Tom Manley.
Jarno Opmeer not waiting around. He says, you know what? If there's going to be a medium charge, one of the Ferraris off the road there.
Oh my goodness.
That was Ismail Fassi rejoining and causing chaos there out of the corner. A couple drivers round, and that looked like Jake Benhams went round with Duncan Hoffland. Ismail Fassi involved in that one as well. So 3 drivers plummeting down the order. It'll be great to find out what happened exactly there. We saw Ismail Fassi go hard over the apex of turn 2, rejoin the circuit, and seem to just clatter into a collection of cars.
It's a disaster for Ferrari Kai. Fassi, we saw him limping around at the back. He was round and he lost his front wing. That's it. The Scuderias are out of this race. It's a disaster for Maranello. I tell you what, this could not go any worse, and certainly Fassi rooted at the back. We're going to take a look at this again. Fassi coming down into the braking zone. He was trying to take on Freddie Rasmussen. Oh my goodness me.
Well, I have to say, George, not in fault of Ismail Fassi at all. And just rejoins the rejoin more on the questionable side, and has that collision. But the initial incident, getting sent over turn 2, seemed like he was helped from behind. Jarno Opmeer, though, he's not going to wait around behind any longer. Makes his way past Nico Longuet. Jarno Opmeer up into 3rd. 2 more to go.
The Flying Dutchman, this is what he can do after putting together a strong qualifying session, breaking the spell of 2 successive Q2 eliminations. He made it into Q3 this time, and he's showing exactly what he's made of, taking on Nico Longuet in that fashion, and the medium tyres are his best friend right now. He's got Ulash Julas Yildirim in front. He's got Otis as well next on his list. The two drivers that were in pure animation after each of their wins last time could be set to meet again.
George, this is the exact situation that we spoke about in qualifying. If Jarno Opmeer can sort out his qualifying results and qualify himself up at the front end, he is an unstoppable force to be reckoned with, and he is carving through this field like he's in a mid-tier league race, and nobody is able to stop the three-time world champion.
This is why he is considered the greatest in the world. 3 world championships against his name. The triple overtake last time at Bahrain delivered a clinic of a race win. It was sensational, ticking off the box in his first event for this season, and now looking for his second, and you definitely make him the favourite on this compound of tyre, especially with Julas hunting down Otis Lawrence, and that's only going to force the young Welshman to push. The giant, though, the phenom, Jarno Opmeer chasing down Julas. Julas Yildirim, though, going after Otis Lawrence. Moves to the outside. Otis defends very aggressively, but enough between them in order to get round. Jarno Opmeer, though, is going to go for P2 nonetheless. He might get a double, though. He'll get huge slipstream off the back of Otis Lawrence as well. Lawrence knows this. Goes defensive. Jarno threaded the needle. Down the inside into turn 1. Wheel to wheel they go. And back through goes Otis Lawrence.
Well held, but they're still side by side. You can't count your cars just yet because Jarno Opmeer emerges out in front. He was further down the grid in qualifying. Alternate strategy, overcut. Jarno Opmeer finds himself in the lead of the race, and Otis Lawrence now, for the first time, finds himself in a chasing position in this race, but on these medium compounded tyres, Jarno Opmeer is disappearing into the distance.
He's saying sayonara to the rest of the field. 5 laps on those medium tyres. It couldn't get much better than this for the Flying Dutchman, and he is absolutely flying indeed. A true illustration of how great this reigning champion really is. Nico Longe all over the back as well of Racing Bull's very own Julas Yildirim. The Turkish talent is now trying to hold on to the podium here, but surely Longe, with the power of DRS, is going to look to try and hover into his rear wing. They coast together through the next left and right. Another DRS detection zone to come. Otis, though, never saying die. He's staying on the tail of Jarno Opmeer. He knows there's still 4 key laps left.
Nico Longe, only 1 podium last season, that came in Qatar, and he's looking to pick up his first podium if possible here in Jeddah at round 4 of the F1 Sim Racing Championship in 2026. Now down the home straight, the laps are dwindling down as the lap counter will tick further and further. All drivers will have their eyes on it, knowing that their chances are being cut down lap by lap, and I'm sure Otis Lawrence will be in desperate position. If he wants this race win, he needs to get himself in front of Jarno Opmeer and defend sooner rather than later.
This is Jarno chasing his 17th race win. At the moment, it'll be a 34th podium nonetheless. I'll tell you what, incredible record. In 75 race starts, he's only had, oh my goodness, okay, we've got an under investigation. I'm not surprised by any means, to be fair. István Püki and Ismail Fassi effectively leading to Ismail Fassi DNFing out of the race.
Yeah, that will have been for the incident down at turn 1 where István Püki helped Ismail Fassi over the first 2 corners. Let's get a replay here, George, of exactly what happened from Jarno Opmeer's perspective. You don't often get to see the perspective of a 3 times world champion. Got on the inside, picked his line, slipstream and DRS available here. Otis Lawrence, a rookie mistake, left the gap on the inside, and Jarno Opmeer says, thank you very much, I'll eat up that space. Lawrence did a great job to try and even recover and defend that position, but with fresher medium tyres, that extra traction very much worked out in the favour of Jarno Opmeer. Plants his foot and gets himself into the race lead with now a margin of 2 seconds. Nobody is going to be able to stop him.
He's on his own, Kai. He's in a different galaxy. Right now, we're looking at Tamas Gal, who's trying to make the moves, this time on Julian Klappenbach. It's getting really condensed now all of a sudden, much like it was at the start of this race. And this, of course, very essential for the higher end points places. Klappenbach trying to defend after a brilliant qualifying session. We've got a little bit of movement further back involving Freddie Rasmussen, and also by looks at Alfie Butcher, who's trying to recover as well. He's currently sat outside the top 10. McLaren, of course, if you remember, both out very early in qualifying. They're going to keep going, toing and froing. I mean, Freddie Rasmussen, again, hasn't really been his race either, to be honest. I expected him to be fighting higher up inside this top 10, and Alfie Butcher making it worse here this time. P12 for the McLaren.
Yeah, this really isn't the Freddie Rasmussen that we all know and love. We expect him to be in a point-scoring position. That's what he's relying for. That's what he's known for. Mr. Consistency, with over 1,000 points scored in his sim racing history. We know that he's always in a point-scoring position, helping out the team in terms of the Constructors' Championship and making sure that he is also fighting for that championship. But for Freddie Rasmussen, on his day today, Saudi is not his circuit.
It definitely doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, from past experience, Freddie Rasmussen actually does prove to be an incredible talent around this track. Back in 2023-24, race winner ahead of Thomas Ronhart. Of course, Ronhart himself currently down in 11th place, and this hasn't necessarily been the race that perhaps Mercedes had envisioned, certainly given the fact that Klappenbach qualified inside the top 4. But as they now venture through the final corner again, we're right on board with Nico Longuet, still on the tail of Ulash Ozyildirim. The story isn't over yet for Williams. They can still put a man on the podium, and indeed Nico Longuet is going to try and do that. Of course, Otis Lawrenson, Ulash Ozyildirim are going to try and make that as difficult as possible. There's a lot of movement further back as well, as now we see Klappenbach trying to restrain Tamas Gal from making the move into P7. We're on the penultimate lap of the race here now, Kai. Otmir on his own. It's now 2.7 seconds. It's growing all the time.
Otmir on a casual Sunday drive out in front. Nobody is going to catch the Flying Dutchman. He could make a multitude of mistakes and still be in the race lead. Cool, calm and collected is the face of Jarno Otmir right now out in front. Otis Lawrence, though, it's a different question. He still has Ulash Ozyildirim breathing down his neck. I'm sure he will have been fed the information that Ulash is under investigation, but you also can't bank on a penalty being handed out. Just because he's under investigation doesn't mean that a penalty will be awarded his way, so Otis Lawrence needs to avoid that factor and try and ignore all the outside noise and just focus on the race at hand.
Absolutely right. And the drivers now continue on this penultimate lap of the race. Nico Longuet still trying to move on the back of Ulash Ozyildirim. The gap now 3/10. If anything, Ozyildirim maybe just dropping off the back of Otis Lawrence here. Maybe just considering Longuet a little bit more. Just trying to obviously avoid any last-minute skirmishes. Be big points for RB here because Tom Manley is also down in P6 and they had a very strong qualifying session. As we said, much like Alpine, there weren't many teams that had 2 cars inside that final session for the pole shootout. Final lap of the race, though, about to kick off. Jarno Otmir, 2.7 as they cross the line. I can tell you that over the last lap, he was purple in that last sector. He is still oh so quick.
Well, Jarno Otmir knows he has the race victory under his belt, but still not easing off the accelerator. He wants to push for that fastest lap as well, which is currently in the hands of Alfie Butcher. We're currently looking at the number 40 of Nico Longuet, just teetering on the edge of a podium right now, and opportunities are coming thin as well. Doesn't have many choices to get this overtake done on this lap. Nico Longuet, if he wants to get the move done, he needs good acceleration out of one of the bends. Out of turn 1 and 2 would have been a great chance, but also on the exit of 27, we've seen quite a few moves, as that is one of the heaviest braking zones on the lap. Out of the corner, it's all about setting up that acceleration, the traction, the acceleration, and also the DRS, which will go in his favor.
Absolutely right. Well, we're coming out of Sector 2 now and very soon into Sector 3, and after witnessing a masterclass like we did at Bahrain in our last event to sign off from DreamHack, of course, at the NEC in Birmingham, we wondered how he may continue this truly remarkable journey, but Jarno Otmir continues to wow and really send eruptions through the course of F1 Sim Racing World Title challenges. He now makes his way out of the final corner. This race has been perfection. It's been like clockwork. It's simply Jarno Otmir, and he's a winner here at Saudi Arabia. He wins the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix here at the Jeddah Corniche. First back-to-back winner of 2026, and in fact make that the first driver to win a multiple number of races in 2026. 2 for the season, many more to come. Make that 17 in total. Could this be a run-up to the title? Let's find out. Kai, what do you make of that?
Well, no rash celebration from Jarno Otmir this time. Crossed the line, almost looking as if he expected this race victory, expected to dominate out in front. And Jarno Otmir, he took the gamble with the dice. He definitely rolled the dice, going for that alternate strategy. Everyone said that the undercut was going to be favoured. Jarno Otmir says, no, 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 let me work my own race. Let me write my own stories. He does exactly that with another outstanding performance. 4th world title. Is it coming his way, George?
You never know. This is just the way you want to start the second event, and Otis obviously understandably looking despondent. He felt that after that pole position, that he was destined to take back-to-back Saudi Arabian Grand Prix victories. That is not the case, and you can just tell he's tearing up. That does seem like there's some emotion appearing on the face of the young Welshman. There's more to come though, Otis. We still have 2 more races to bring you through the course of this event, folks. They're coming up tomorrow. But for now, the drivers have got to digest what they have witnessed here today. I think also, if we want to talk about shocks, Ferrari.
Yeah, double retirement, 17th and 18th. John Evans departing early. Ismail Fassi following in suit after his incident as well. It's not what you want to see from Ferrari at all. If we're talking about big teams, let's have a look at Mercedes, as I think one driver very much needs to be celebrated. Julian Klaffenbach comes home in 7th position for his first ever points in the F1 Sim Racing Championship.
What an occasion for the young man. I think he probably would have wanted something a little bit more, but he gets a pat on the back from Gregory Belati, of course, who is the engineer for the Mercedes team, working with the drivers. And credit to the young man. He is good enough to be operating at this level. There's no question. We've seen him through the realms of league racing, and he's really coming into his own now. Obviously, the qualifying session, I think, will be a big help to his future. And obviously has been a teammate for Thomas Ronhaar now for a good amount of time. Certainly coming out of league racing as well. Ulas Yildirim finishing in 3rd as well. In fact, big result for RB as well, because Tom Manley down in 6th place.
Yeah, Tom Manley not able to recuperate the points that he would have been hoping for. He was the driver that was initially actually leading the medium charge through the field. Jarno Opmeer then took it upon himself to make that charge through, but no higher than P6. Maybe you would have expected a little bit higher there from the RB driver, as they're having a debrief right now and talking through what happened in the race. But Ulas Yildirim, does he know that a penalty's coming his way? There is the possibility he's under investigation from the stewards. 3rd on track, and it could be another podium for the Williams driver of Nico Longe.
I just had a look, and it looked like John Evans had gone over to speak to him just behind the scenes. I'm not sure what's gone on there, but I'm pretty sure it was John. Judging from it, it was a Ferrari. It did look like his fringe anyway that I saw behind the sim rig. There's Danny Berejnay. Yeah, I mean, strong day for Alpine regardless. I still think they've earned some big points, but we were obviously questioning at the end of the day that whether it would be the case that Danny would capitalise off the back of Red Bull perhaps not being so strong, but obviously we'll see what happens when they fight back. I mean, that's going to be intriguing, but plenty of action to digest. Let's have a look at some of the highlights. Obviously kicking things off, this is Jarno Opmeer on the move against Ismail Fassi. In fact, all these are going to be Jarno Opmeer, folks. We just need to really unpack what made this so special, Kai. I mean, just look at that move on Nico Longe. That was stellar enough.
Well, sweat on the forehead. He was definitely feeling the pressure. This is pretty much just a Jarno Opmeer overtaking compilation.
It is.
Because that is exactly what the race was like from his perspective. Let's have a look at this move for the lead once again. He got the acceleration, got the traction out of that final corner to get the move done on Ulas Yildirim. He saw the gap open up on the inside. Otis Lawrence, maybe he'll watch that back and think, should he have left less room? Probably. However, you'll learn from your mistakes. Otis Lawrence did his best to try and fight that position back, as very much nearly going off the track to try and hold the position, but it's just about keeping it in a fighting place.
I don't think Otis expected him to take that narrow line at all down that pit straight.
No, but we've seen it time and time again in the real life. Lando Norris tried that exact maneuver at Canada on his teammate, and that didn't work out for him. However, Jarno Opmeer did a great job at calculating that gap and seeing that there was just enough room for him to fit through.
John Evans just debriefing there with Oscar King, who is from Australia. Of course, a talented sim racer, but now most recently applying himself as an engineer for Ferrari, just giving John Evans some words of encouragement. It is a tough time to be John Evans at the moment, and we do, of course, wish him well, and hopefully he can build from this. It's a very tricky circumstance, of course, at Ferrari at the moment, and obviously cannot be helped, but you know, fingers crossed they'll bounce back from this. We expect more from someone such as Ismail Fassi as well. I mean, that was a chaotic incident, wasn't it, coming out of the first sector?
Yeah, it must have been difficult from Fassi's position as well, because he felt that contact from behind from his Van Pookie, and that sent him over the apex of turn 2. When he then rejoins the track, has that little bit of contact. Yes, the initial contact was completely out of his control. There's nothing that Fassi could have done in that situation. But coming back onto the circuit, I think he was frustrated from the initial contact and just wanted to try and not lose as much time as possible. Inevitably, in the end, losing his whole front wing and also ending his race.
Well, let's just flash back to 12 months ago, Kai. What was the result there? Otis Lawrence first, Jarno Opmeer second.
Oh, we've had a bit of a switch around.
What's
However,
occurred here?
this time it wasn't 3,000 that separated
That's
the
true.
two of them.
Instead, it's 3 seconds.
Yeah, Jarno Opmeer says, you know what? You can have the 3,000th race victory last year. This time I'll win by 3 seconds.
Incredible. Obviously, Jarno was still putting on the purple sectors regardless. Phenomenal stuff. Incredible. In the meantime, we can throw over to Nina J. Paul. She's with Ulas Yildirim and Otis Lawrence.
Oh, Otis, P2 today, not the top step. I know you're disappointed, but critical points still.
Yeah, not too bad. The pace was amazing during the race. My teammate Danny as well with a P5. I think we scored the most points on the grid today, so that's a positive. Big positive for 2 days. Tomorrow, one day, the next 2 races. I'm excited to do some more racing again tomorrow. I feel more confident on those 2 tracks, so we'll see what happens.
Jarno is very much on the charge today. Do you feel you left the door open a little bit, or was it just inevitable because he was on the mediums and super quick?
It was impossible. I couldn't do anything, to be honest. He had really good pace and his strategy was amazing, so hard to beat the bulls today, but yeah, P2 is maximum I could do.
Yeah. What were the positives you can take away?
The pace was amazing. The strategy from our side was pretty good. We couldn't really do much from P1. You had to be quite cautious with the strategy. Not much. You couldn't be really flexible with the strategy, but it is what it is. We did what we could. We did the maximum of what we did and what we was on. So I'm really proud of the team. And yeah.
Ulas, P3 today. Congratulations on the podium. You got to be happy with that.
Yeah, I am very happy. It was a really hard race for me, obviously. I pitted really early in the race to get some kind of undercut. I went into the lead, but I had to save tires, so I had to let Otis go and try to save tires behind. It was really hard in the end. I had really bad tires, but I made it finish, so I'm really happy with the podium.
Brilliant. Talk us through your move on the Ferrari. We saw some contact there.
In the last corner, I think John was on the inside. I was on the outside. I don't know, maybe I hit him a little bit. I didn't see what happened on my screen. So maybe it was like, I have no idea what happened. But so I have no comments on that, really. I didn't see it.
No comments just yet. Let's talk about Barcelona next. How does that track suit you? Are you looking forward to it?
I'm not doing Barcelona, actually. My teammate, Uni, is going to do that. Yes.
Okay, great. So are you going to be doing Silverstone?
Yes, I will be doing Silverstone.
Okay, so that'll be your next race. How are you feeling about that?
I feel good in Silverstone, maybe better than Jeddah. So I'm looking forward to it.
And Otis, you're doing Barcelona, I assume?
Yep.
What will be the challenges at Barcelona?
Got to qualify high. It's hard to overtake, so lots of pressure on qualifying.
Brilliant. Well, look, well done today, guys, on the podium. Congratulations. Back up to the studio.
Thank you so much to Nina down there. And as you can see, he's joined us, your race winner around Jeddah, 3-time world champion, Jarno Opmeer. Congratulations. Let's start there. But I have to say, Jack, it's been very mellow as we were just sitting here with Jarno. Compare your response to Bahrain to how you are now. Very different.
Yeah, I mean, Bahrain had to come from really far back, of course, P12. And then it was just constant chaos throughout the race. So I had a lot of adrenaline. Had to stay patient, of course, which almost no one did in that race. I think everyone in that race at some point had a crash, apart from me. And yeah, this race was different, Now I was on the other end. I think like 7 laps from the end, I was like, if I just make my moves, stay calm, take my time, then it's almost impossible to not win this race. Because once I came out on mediums, I saw the gap was like 2-3 seconds to the leading train. So I was like, all right, let's take our time here. Make smart moves. Obviously, you can also not take too long. Yeah, every lap you have to make at least a move. But yeah, it was a little bit more chill than last race.
You must have heard your strategy talk before we went to the race. Jack was saying exactly that. Take your time. Just relax. Go with the fastest strategy, but just ease into it. We looked at some of the highlights. They were basically overtake compilation from you. Did it feel as smooth as it looked in your driving?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have to do really anything crazy because my tire advantage was so big. Every time I came out of a corner, I was like right on the gearbox, and then you got every single time like a 1.5 kilometer straight. There's not a lot of slipstream in the game, but still, if you're only 1/10 behind, it's enough to just pull alongside. Then you got better tires, and you can make the move on. And I think when you come out of the pits. On fresh mediums, you're so much faster than a lot of people who went early on too hards. you know, they also have a sense of like, is there point of defending this because the tire advantage is so big? Maybe they did even try to defend, but you know, when your tires are 2 seconds lap faster, there's not much they can do, I guess. So yeah, it didn't feel really exciting, but maybe it was to watch, I don't know.
Well, we just watched that incident between Istvan Pütki and John Evans, which we will talk about because that was discussed earlier on. But I mean, and then Ismail Fisser rejoining again, which, I mean, I let out a shriek in the green room. Yes, there is a green room. But Jack, what did you make of the race? What were you seeing, particularly in Jarno's performance out there?
Yeah, it was a good performance, so well done to you. Yeah, I could kind of tell he was going to be on for the win. I think quite early on in the scene he had a huge gap, and he was obviously still with the guys on mediums when they boxed. So of course he was going to be a lot faster in the end. And I had when I raced in F2 in Jeddah last year, I had the guy on the opposite strategy, also a Dutchman, Richard Verschoor, passing me on the last lap. So I kind of feel for Otis because I know, even though it wasn't the last lap, but I know what it feels like to just get blown by like that. So.
Let's have a look at the classifications. They're just coming up in a minute. But Jarno, I mean, just as soon as you got that overtake on Otis, you knew that it was pretty much done there, and you had that pace to go through. And then, as you could say to me, those 7 last laps, you're like, I'm going to win this unless something crazy happens.
Yeah, I mean, I had to reach as a battery full lap, of course, because I'd made a lot of moves. And yeah, I knew tire advantage was going to be big enough to pull out of DRS, basically. I didn't even really have to take a huge amount of risk. I still tried to go for the fast lap as well, but obviously I already had like 7-8 laps on those tires, so that was going to be very difficult. So unfortunately didn't get the point for that, but yeah, that's just how it goes.
Looking at those classifications, I know that Jack will be disappointed not to see an Aston Martin up there. However, brilliant race and really just providing that entertainment. I mean, we've talked about it so much, you wouldn't have heard Jarno, but we were talking about Event 1 was just brilliant for the viewers, the fans out there to watch. And it just seems calm and collected for that race. Do you think that'll be the same for tomorrow in Barcelona?
I think
and Silverstone?
Yeah, Silverstone overtaking might be a little bit better. I think Barcelona, we're not going to see a lot of overtaking. I think it's going to be similar to Suzuka that we had, where, yeah, it's going to be difficult. There's not really a lot of hard braking zones, a lot of fast corners, so we're going to have a lot of dirty air, can't outbrake people. So will be interesting. I think qualifying is going to be really, really important. But we're going to have to wait and see. Maybe it's going to be the best race ever. We never know, you know?
That's the beauty of F1 sim racing. And the unpredictability and those moments that would... Thanks for coming to join us.
Yeah, I thought I'd come and say hi.
No, it's great to have you here with us because you spoke about that moment. There was an incident with John Evans and Ulas, and it really could have changed the whole landscape of that race. We'll have a look at that now. I want to get your take on it here at Jarno, and kind of what you would see, and this is the first time you're seeing it probably, but yeah.
Yeah, it looks to me like obviously John was on all tires, I think with a bit of wing damage. He still broke earlier, but I think he just didn't have enough grip, was a tight angle, locked up. I think there was no like foul play there. It's just yeah, his fault, but wasn't done on purpose, if you get what I mean. He just braked a little bit too late for those tires, went deep, and then obviously there's a car there. So.
Well, I can confirm that is classified as a racing incident on that. So yes, we'll keep that third place. We'll be incredibly happy about, and the fact that it's his second podium. He was sort of in the sort of mix of, should I be celebrating or should I not be celebrating?
Yeah, he was quite almost nonchalant. I think when he started talking, he lit up a little bit. You know, there's talking about like how he got a podium, but I think when I brought up the incident, you could tell he was, I don't want to comment, almost hoping that it's not going to be penalised against him. But I think he was chuffed deep down. You could see as he was talking about it, he started to beam a little bit, and rightfully so.
Yeah, well, look, let's see what it does for the driver standings as our reigning champion is right next to us, knowing that points added to what he already had with the 40 takes him all the way up to 65 points now, with that 11-point gap to Otis Lawrence. Is it a good feeling to see yourself up there as the reigning champ? It's an obvious question, but this early in a season, because anything can happen.
Of course, it's a good feeling. But at the same time, you know, tomorrow and the day after, you might score 0, and then you're suddenly, I don't know, 30 points behind. So yeah, doesn't mean much. It's only 11 points. We're gonna have to wait and see how further it evolves. I think tomorrow might be a little bit more tough for me. We'll see. Gonna be very quali reliant, the races, I think so. So gonna have to be on top of that. I think today, you know, I had to pace for pole as well, and then I didn't finish it as well. So got some work to do.
Just 2 points off the century, 100 points, and those are the team standings, which is making it very exciting. Do you feel the pressure from the other teams, Jarno? Because, as you say, it's so close. Started today by saying 9 different drivers on the podium after the first 3 races. Is that how it feels when you're coming into competition, a championship like this?
Yeah, I think because it's so close, you know, the gaps in the standings are going to be really, really small. I think basically everyone on the grid has the capabilities to probably get pole position. But you know, if it's your first season, the pressure is going to be immense. I think if I would have done my rookie season this year or last year, then I probably will be out of a job. So it's just so tough. Obviously, for me, the pressure is, I guess, a little bit less because obviously won the championship 3 times last year as well. So, you know, I know that if I have a race that's a little bit worse, then it's not going to be end of the day, you know, because I know I'm, you know, in the future going to be capable of winning a race maybe again. So yeah, that's just how it is.
Well, we will be unpacking a lot of that race today, tomorrow, because we are back again. Jack, my fingers are crossed. You will join us at some point again. It's been great to have you here. Let's talk about that feature race win that you had in F2 and how much you love Barcelona, Jack.
Oh, I love Barcelona. It's yeah, the ultimate strategy track. And I don't know how it'll be tomorrow. Maybe a bit of a train, but usually it's a train anyways for us in F2. So you got to make the strategy work.
Silverstone, obviously the home of British Motorsport. We love it, and that will be joining us at 5 o'clock for quali, and then 7:30. So 2 brilliant tracks. Nina, how good was the energy down there today with the drivers?
Do you know, it was very tense. You couldn't hear a pin drop. Actually, Red Bull were the most vocal team, I would say. You could hear you guys chattering and that kind of stuff. But, you know, when someone sneezed, it was like, oh, because the atmosphere was completely silent. Everyone was so, like, heavily concentrating. I wish you guys could have been down there to experience it, but I can't wait to do it all again tomorrow.
Well, look, that is a perfect way to say it. Jack Crawford, so good to have you as part of the setup. Obviously, well, best of luck for the rest of the season. Jarno, congratulations on your 17th win in F1 Sim Racing. We will say goodbye for today, and we'll be back tomorrow to go racing around Barcelona and, of course, Great Britain, Silverstone. Can't wait for it. Catch you then.